Naval landings and invasions are difficult in any game. The attackers are always coming into the battle with some kind of disadvantage. We all want to roleplay and mass a bunch of landing boats to recreate some kind of D-Day experience. How many times now have we seen a picture or videos of landing invasions getting stomped into the ground right on the beach? Out of all the landing invasions that happened in War 108, how many of them were successful? From the naval landings I participated in, nothing was accomplished. We failed over and over again. It almost seems like these landings either succeeded or failed based on the first wave of boats that went in to secure the beachhead before the defenders could respond. If your first landing was strong and coordinated, then you would last a little bit longer. I heard from defenders that they knew our landing spot 20 minutes before we even left for the attack. Crap, 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 everybody out, everybody out! Well, this is not good. The collies would just be on the beach waiting for us with tanks and infantry and blast us as soon as we stepped out of our ships. Honestly, this is not much different from the older naval invasions with white whales. Pulling off a successful amphibious landing is one of the most difficult tasks that you can attempt during any war. The coordination you have with everyone needs to be perfect. Today we discuss current issues with naval landings and what are some ways we can fix it for the future wars. Before the Naval Warfare update, we had white whale invasions. With the white whale invasions, you had a spawn point that directly deployed you on the shore. Not having a beach spawn mechanic in the new Navy update I think is a major setback. Having this spawn helped keep up the pressure during the initial attack for every landing. It of course had its cons as well, but I believe losing the ability to spawn on shore is something that is hindering invasions from being better right now. Now what happens after the new update is after you die on the beach, you spawn back on the long hook, and then you have to go and get your gun and ammo again, and then sometimes you need to wait for the boats to be filled to go back to the beach and invade. What used to take no time at all in white whales now takes 5 to 10 minutes for the next wave of attacks to come. Not having spawns on the beach feels bad. Sure, you aren't getting spawn camp from the white whales, but you're still getting spawn camp from getting back on the beach, which seems worse. Once the defenders have set up a good position, they're constantly just shooting at the landing crafts. The infantry needs to be able to get deep into the enemy territory and spread out. Another issue with the new invasions compared to white whale invasions is that the new invasions are harder to keep a secret. There used to be solo players that could load up a white whale and sneak behind enemy lines by themselves, and then they would just spam in chat for everybody to spawn in and do a surprise attack. These new invasions need to have several ships involved though, which looks really cool from a LARPing standpoint, but it's not a great surprise attack. We have all these battleships and gunboats and long hooks and bluefins and landing ships. 10 to 15 boats are going to pop up on the map really easily. All it takes is one random motorboat going for a joyride to stop a beach landing. And at this point, if your invasion gets sniffed out before it starts, you might as well cancel it and try again another day. I will say they are a lot more fun and easier to jump into, which is really nice, but they are still difficult to pull off successfully. I don't want to confuse anybody. I don't think landing operations should be an easy attack to pull off, but should they really be this hard? I know it's going to be hard for the devs to balance this. We don't want the devs to make it feel too easy. Successful landings take a lot of coordination, which I think is great, but should it require perfect coordination between clans and random players? Maybe we need better communication tools in game to make this easier. During one of the landings I participated in, we had shells supporting us from the battleship. A few of our allies got hit, but it did keep the enemy back from the beach for a while. After a while though, the bombardment kept coming and it was still killing a lot of our allies, which actually hurt us more than helped us. I could see the frustration from siege members and other random soldiers that joined us during this invasion. A lot of these siege members have probably spent days and weeks to prep and coordinate these landings, only to have them stomped into the ground and destroyed within minutes. I will say one of the bigger improvements from the older white whale invasion version of this is the amount of risk has gone down. Instead of throwing away your fully stacked white whale, you can take your long hook back to your base and try your invasion again another day. As soon as we saw that the new ships were announced in the trailer and that we needed dozens of players per ship, I think as a player base we knew the limitations of the population per hex would be an issue for this update. From the pictures the devs show about their vision and from the trailers, I think the devs overestimated how many players would be able to participate in these invasions. Invasion operations had more players crewing ships than storming the beaches, which was another issue on why these attacks were not very successful. I think some of the mechanics are there for landing invasions with all the new additions. I just don't think they are quite there yet. The devs are limited by the technology and the max player counts per hex. I love that we have these new ships that need 10 to 20 people to operate, but when it comes to actually using it in a hex that has a bad queue, it can make the game feel really bad and unplayable. We need to figure out how to have more players storming the beaches and less players running the operations in the back who are just taking up space for the offensive line. The defenders are able to commit all of their players to defending while the attackers need to split their forces. Supporting vessels like battleships, submarines, destroyers, destroyers and gunboats just take away from players landing on the beach. Out of the 100+ players you could have in the invasion, only about 20 or 30 are actually on the beach. Because there are so many people offshore, it's hard for infantry to support tanks that come in with the attack, especially when the infantry takes 5 to 10 minutes to come back to each battle. Landings really can't work as long as the defender can spawn back every 15 to 30 seconds and the attacker has to spawn back every 5 to 10 minutes. And something I noticed that a lot of these beaches in game are too easy to defend with AI structures. There are too many small choke points on these beaches and they need to be opened up a lot more. And just as I was making this video, update 55 came out and DevMan made Origin have a wider beach for better invasions. DevMan good. As I've mentioned, we need to look at improving the time it takes to leaving the long hook to the beach. Maybe new landing ships have some kind of machine gun tripod on them like in real life, like the Higgins boats. We need something that we can fight back with on the beach instead of waiting to get off the ship and then start firing. We need to make it so enemy players can't enter other faction landing crafts. I saw too many times enemies taking landing crafts and turning them sideways to block the beach. It should work like other ships where enemy factions shouldn't be able to access them. These landing crafts are just way too tanky and it just becomes a good defense for the defenders. Bluefin and long hook pull times are too long. They need to be shorter. Currently, bringing in barges with preloaded tanks is way more effective than bluefins, and this is not how bluefin should work. I saw an interesting idea about switching the roles of the bluefin and the long hook. The bluefin can deploy on the beaches and use those turrets on the front, and it can carry vehicles. It does everything the white whale could with guns attached. This helps keep the pressure up on the first initial attack. Another interesting idea is having it so the landing crafts can be a temporary spawn themselves. They would each have 10 to 20 shirts, and this again would help keep that pressure up. Of course, the ships would have to cost more than 10 BMATs. Maybe they should have just kept the white whale. Maybe have it so the white whale could only hold shirts. It would be like making it a temporary bunker type base on the shore, with still having the long hook and the bluefin for main logi supplies. I know there were successful landings that went on from Siege and Warden Navy, but I haven't heard any specific details on what made them successful. Maybe they're keeping it a secret for next war? This is a little off topic from the video, but I wish the devs made the island hexes worth contesting more. Add 1 victory point for owning all 3 islands or make more valuable resources, something that makes us want to fight over them more. Overall, the content of the naval update is really good. Large ships are fun to play with and are fun to fight against. I love the amount of teamwork and communication needed for these ships, and I'm excited to do more Navy battles in the next war. I'm glad that landing ships are no longer one and done. I think naval landings are a lot of fun. We just need a way to coordinate a plan a little bit better. I will miss the old wildcard players that would fill white whales by themselves and do secret landings. The new landing mechanics are a step in the right direction compared to what we had with white whales. It took clans like Siege several attempts before they had a semi-successful landing. We may need more time to see what clans can pull off before making any major changes. One thing I heard a regiment in Cap do well was attacking the west coast, which had a lot of beaches. They would rotate their landings and spread out. This forced the defenders to have to redeploy several times and made it harder for them to counter the attack. I hope we can see more of these types of evasions in War 109. Fail or succeed, I loved these landing operations. Landing operations will always be hard to pull off, but that's part of the fun, right? I like that it encourages more overall cooperation between random players and clans. I'll mention again that I didn't hear many landing success stories. I heard more about the ones that went poorly. Anyone willing to share ones that went well? What changes do you think need to be made to landing invasions? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, your support. Make sure to subscribe for more Foxhole content. I'll see you in the next naval invasion. Cheers.